Palo Alto for the Nike women's 1500-meter final. They're the American Championship records. A record that Suzy Favor-Hamilton says she is after this year is that Mary Slaney American record from 20 years ago. And there is the rivalry. On right, Regina Jacobs. On the left, Suzy Favor-Hamilton. This is one of the most anticipated matchups at this national championships. They've run very close to the same time this outdoor season for 1500 meters. Jacobs not contesting the 800 because of a slight injury. She didn't want to hurt her chances in the 1500. And Suzy Favor-Hamilton getting better and better each week. We spoke to Regina Jacobs just a couple of days ago, and she talked about what the rivalry means to her.
I enjoy it. It definitely has made my running better. And I think it's brought a lot of excitement in terms of our racing, because everyone can see the energy there and realize that, you know, those two girls just don't get along, do they? So everyone is always waiting to see what's going to happen in the last 100.
That's what makes this matchup so spectacular, because it just goes beyond the natural competitiveness that athletes have for each other. They're serious. But look at that stat right there. I think that says a lot about the rivalry. Regina Jacobs has really dominated Suzy Favor-Hamilton, a fact that Mark Hamilton, Suzy Favor's husband and manager, freely admits. But I believe that having spoken to Suzy Favor-Hamilton's coach, Peter Teagan, there might be something different.
Well, certainly Regina Jacobs seems to be the favorite on paper. This is her home track. She was a graduate of Stanford, is a graduate of Stanford. She is the world indoor record holder and the world indoor champion from back in March. So she's obviously very fit, and she's running very well as she gets back into about 6th place as the pace is going out a little bit slowly. And then Regina Jacobs moving up a bit. And we have to talk a little bit about Tiffany McWilliams of Mississippi State, who just finished her sophomore season and just set the collegiate record in the NCAAs last week.
Well, the real X factor in this race is Tiffany McWilliams. She's had a strategy that's worked very well for her all season of taking out the pace hard. And she told me earlier that she is planning to take a hard pace out. And that may change the dynamic between Regina and Suzy, because you know, both feel like they will benefit from a faster pace. But it does not appear that McWilliams is taking out as hard as she had originally planned.
Tiffany McWilliams leading over Suzy Favor-Hamilton, then Mary Jane Harrelson. Regina Jacobs back there around 4th or 5th, biding her time. The first lap out in about 64 seconds. So an honest enough pace as the group now strings out a bit. At least there's not a trouble of running in that pack. I
take it back. She did go out exactly what she had planned. She wanted to run 64 seconds for the first 2 laps, and that's what she did. I thought there was some danger that, you know, this is her first time at the national level. She may get excited and run too fast, but showing a great deal of maturity for only a college sophomore who, remember, only 2 years ago was a basketball star and cheerleader in Alabama.
So Tiffany McWilliams leads over Suzy Favor-Hamilton. Then Regina Jacobs is just behind Suzy Favor-Hamilton, Mary Jane Harrelson, then Colette Bliss. And is it an advantage for Regina Jacobs to be right off of Suzy Favor-Hamilton as Hamilton now takes the lead?
A huge advantage for Regina. And I'm quite surprised to see Suzy in the lead this early in the race, but this could be what her coach, Peter Teagan, was talking about, trying something different. And the reason I like this strategy is because Suzy in the past has always been very reactive to Regina, but this time it seems like she's taking the race in control.
Well, we certainly saw Suzy Favor-Hamilton do something similar to this at the Olympics in Sydney, and it turned out terribly wrong for her in the finishing straight whenever she was in position probably to medal and then completely fell apart. So it continues to be Suzy Favor-Hamilton pushing the pace and leading this race. Regina Jacobs looking very comfortable back in 2nd place and seems to have no intention of changing those positions, and they're already pulling away from the remainders. Mary Jane Harrelson and now Tiffany McWilliams, the NCAA champion, now fading back into 4th.
Yeah, it just one race too many for Tiffany McWilliams. I think she is very tired from a long season, but Regina is in a great position right now. She's extremely focused for this race. She said after this weekend she's going back to training to focus for the World Championships. And Suzy Favor-Hamilton, having spoken to her husband, she said that she is really only 90% fitness right now, and she's going to go back and focus on preparing for the World Championships as well.
Less than a lap to go, and it still is Suzy Favor-Hamilton. Regina Jacobs right on her shoulder, maybe even brushing up against her a little bit just for some extra irritation as they get to the 1200-meter mark in roughly 3:15, and Jacobs still willing to bide her time here, obviously confident in her finishing kick. Suzy Favor-Hamilton says, you have to try harder than that to get by me. Mary Jane Harrelson and Tiffany McWilliams well out of the race as Jacobs now makes a move with 200 meters to go.
It's exactly what she had planned. I spoke to her husband and coach, Tom Craig. She said, Regina's going at 200 meters, and that's exactly what she did.
Regina Jacobs continuing to press her advantage, looking back several times now at Suzy Faber-Hamilton. Faber-Hamilton seeming to have nothing left in the tank to challenge Regina Jacobs. I personally have never seen Regina lose on this track, and it's going to be Jacobs lengthening her lead. Now it's over 10 meters. Regina Jacobs running an excellent time. She's going to be very close to 4 minutes. 4:01.63 unofficially her best time of the season. And now the fight is for third place between Tiffany McWilliams and Colette Liss, and McWilliams finishes third, and we'll have to check to make certain that she has run fast enough to make the qualifying standard for the World Championships. What a great opportunity for that youngster, just 20 years old, to make the team. But Regina Jacobs and Suzy Faber-Hamilton, another great battle, but now the record goes to 12-1 for Regina Jacobs.
Yeah, Regina is very tough to beat at these championships because, you know, what can you do to her? You can't run ahead of her, you can't out-sprint her. And she, frankly, an astonishing performance at this time.
Let's go down to Carol Lewis. She has Regina.
Regina, number 12. My goodness. When are you going to lose this thing?
Never. I'm boring. You know, people are, they're boring. Eat the same thing for breakfast, do the same thing, fish on Friday.
Just checking, you've had an incredible rivalry with Suzy Hamilton. You seem to own her in this event. You have your strategy mapped out, and it works out perfectly every time.
Well, I had 2 possible strategies, and she went for it, and I'm really excited that she did, because I ended up running the fastest time in the world, and now I'm just going to start training for the Worlds.
You had an injury coming in. You were supposed to run the 800 meters also. How's the injury?
It's much better. It was just really a matter of being safe, because I don't want to risk anything at this point. I think I'm in a great position to medal this summer.
Thank you. Let's go over to Lewis Johnson with Suzy Hamilton.
All right, Carol, thanks a lot. Well, Suzy shares a smile here as she now knows she's heading to Paris. But let me ask you, as you celebrate your berth to the World Championships, what are you going to have to do to close the gap here? I think you're 12-1 here against your countrywoman.
You know what? It's going to be so much easier once we get to Europe. Every time we're in the States, I have to do the work. She never leads. So once we get to Europe, we have the big guns leading, and it takes all the pressure and all the work off of me. It's so much easier. So Europe's going to be awesome.
All right, congratulations.
Thank you.
And Alan, she says she's off for ice because her feet are burning up from this track here at Stanford. Alan?
All right, Lewis, it's Dwight Stones up here, but it's Suzy Faber-Hamilton with 300 meters to go. They were battling. Regina Jacobs brushing up against Suzy Faber-Hamilton on the outside of lane 1. And Regina Jacobs just seems to own everybody she runs against in the national championships as she notches her 25th national title by winning the 1,500 meters over Suzy Faber-Hamilton. Tiffany McWilliams will have until August 13th to run 4:05.80 or better, or she will not represent the U.S. team. Now let's wrap up the men's shot.